I'm Yolanda,
And I'm Katrina, and we coming
coming straight
straight
from
from
the
the
streets.
streets.
Today we have a lifelong member in our studio. She's done a few different things for the community, and we just want to give her a chance to shout out Nina's bag, and it's Christina Dawson. Hello, Nina. How are you?
Hey, welcome, Nina.
Hello, thank you.
Yes, it's an honor to have you here today because, like Londa said, lifelong community member, and you've done a whole lot of things for the community, in the community. And I believe that it has brought you to where you're at today, which is Nina's bag. So, can you tell us a little bit about Nina's
And what
bag?
drove you to?
Of course, of course. So thank you both for having me here. I think this is amazing what y'all are doing. I think it's so dope. Like
Thank
I
you,
was, I,
thank you.
I was like, wait, they're doing what? I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Yeah,
think about it, Nina, I mean, I'm gonna keep it a stack right now. I'm gonna say it how it go. Aunt Nina, you know, so you know, I've done a lot of damage in the community. So
life happened.
as you grow up and you see things differently, you have to make
Adjust
a
differently too.
restitution to your community and tell them, I didn't understand when I was younger, but I'm older now and I'm sorry.
I
So
love that.
that's basically what we
That's
do right now.
crazy.
You know what I'm sorry?
Listen, you're gonna make me cry on this show.
It's
So
okay.
I, I
Yo,
sure enough
we've
for
done
that.
it. We've done it. Like this
Okay.
is real life for us. Like we
That's
love what
so
we
cool.
do. Londa came I came up with Straight from the Streets because I was like, okay, my sandwich was in the streets, so I need to get out here. I need to talk to people, and
Love it.
and we had the radio show, and Lonzo was like, "That's not enough. That's not enough. We need a podcast. We need a podcast." And I'm like,
It's true.
"Wow, Lon, you're right." And so
It's true.
Londa pushed some buttons and made some suggestions and talked
Okay.
to some people, and we came up
Okay.
with Straight from the Streets, and we try to give it to them straight from the streets. There's no better way. I could tell anybody's story. I could tell your story. I could tell Londa's story. I could tell my story, but it's no better way to hear it than straight from the people themselves.
I love the name of it, Straight from the Streets. I'm like, wait a minute, are they gonna be hemming me up when I get in there?
Nah.
And I think it's so cool that like your honesty, like I love, love, love that because very few people are able to say I'm sorry. Very
Right.
few people are able to say, I did it this way, now I want to do it this way. Do you know how many people you're helping just from what you just said to open?
Yeah.
It's dope.
Yeah.
So nice. I
Thank you,
like
thank
it.
you, thank you.
Love it. Yeah, so I know both of you from like babies.
That part.
Um and I think that, we've all been in this community. I love what Radio Kingston is doing. I think from the start I was like, wait a minute, KNY. Now we have Radio Kingston and it's one of the most inclusive things that I
Right.
can see in this county right now. And I love it because we have to be on levels, all different levels. Like you put me in a box with a pit bull, we gonna work it out. Me and that pit bull eventually are gonna be like, all right, listen, I gotta be here, you gotta be here. Let's do this. We
Right,
gotta work
right.
this out. So I've done so many things, but most of what I did was driven because of family or because of my son and being a mom, being, like going through the different phases of life. So I don't, as much as people might think, I don't like the light. I'd rather be in the background. I'd rather be unseen, but life keeps pushing me out there. It keeps putting me in the front. And I'm like, I just don't, I want to just do these things. So
You keep saying what you want to do, and God keeps showing you what you need to do.
so many times
Come on now.
I want to leave like 1,000 years ago. I'm like, before I went to school, before I went to college, I was like, I went to get out of Kingston. I couldn't stand it here.
Right.
I grew up in an area downtown, but we used to go to the parade like everybody else, and it was very prejudiced.
Uh
And it
huh.
stood out to me. My mother is probably one of the most bougie women in Kingston, but she did a good job by herself raising us. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She would teach us, like I remember, and I'm going to start with a kind of crazy story, if that's
It's
all
okay.
right.
Hey, come on.
Okay.
This once again, Straight from the street.
Okay.
This is real talk.
So in kindergarten, I went to Sophie Finn School. It was a great school. My mother, I remember back then was cleaning people's houses. And we didn't know that that was like a low level job. We was like, mommy's going to work. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I remember going to kindergarten. Before I even started school, I was always progressed. I was always a little weird, still weird. So my first week of school, I remember like, you're getting to know kids in the class, and I got to know this girl that was kind of shy, but she seemed safe for me to talk to. So after school, we were walking home, and another little girl that was kind of scruffy looking ran up and caught up to us, and she said to the girl, "Why can I be frank? Can I say things frankly?"
Hmm.
Yeah, be frank.
So this little girl said, "Why are you walking with her? She's a nigger." And I was
Wow.
like, that was what it did. And I remember thinking, mommy said, never let anybody call you that. And I remember saying, like, I was in this happy, like, walking home kind of thing with with my new friend. And this little girl ran up to us and was like, abrupt and like totally took me and tried to make me different than them. And my mother like said there's two things that people you don't let people call you. That's the B word and the M word.
Right.
So I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I don't like this girl. And I chased her. I chased her and she got away. And I'm kind of glad she got away, but I was so angry. By the time I got down that hill to home, I walked in the house and my mother said, hello? And I walked right by her, slammed the door. Bam. She was already upset because, like, who you think you are walking
You
in my
walk
house,
by the
slamming the
house like
door?
that.
Right.
Mm. Right.
she was
Right.
like, she was like, what? Wait, come back down these stairs. What happened? And I said, this little girl called me da da da, and she was like, I said, I hate white people. I'm being very honest.
Yeah, this is what it is,
She
honestly.
sat my tail down. She said, no way. Sit down. She said, you don't hate nobody.
Come on
She
now.
said, black people, red people, yellow people, white people, all different colors of people will do the same thing to you that that little girl did to you. She said, you don't say you hate any one person. So my mother was teaching me how to not be prejudiced. And I didn't get it at first.
Right.
I was so angry, but it's your mom. My mother never had to spank us because we just feared her, period. Like, you know what I mean? We did
Yeah.
get spankings, trust me, but if she took it to that level, we did something crazy. But I remember being so afraid because my mother was angry that I said I hate a certain group of people. And she taught me right there. And my mother was like the Bible to us. If she said it, that's the way it was. So I remember thinking, okay, I can't hate this girl. So I went back to the same school and I just ignored her and just moved past it. I learned to be with people that didn't like me, didn't know me, but just to be with people. So I've been on this inclusive journey childhood
Wow.
from childhood. And like, I don't know how it has to be Lottie, it has to be my mom. From being young and her instilling certain things in us, like she never let us see hardships. We knew that we weren't rich, but we didn't know we was poor.
Right.
We was
Right.
P-O without the O-R. Like we were po. You know
Oh.
what I mean? And like, but we didn't know it because she cleaned us. She used to we used to be in the yard playing and she'd make us come in the house and change our clothes just because she didn't want the dirt on us. Like my mother was different.
Uh
That's why I'm bougie because of Lottie.
huh.
She did it to me.
Sure, somebody has to take the blame.
Right. But I mean, that's a good thing that Auntie instilled in you. Like, I
She wouldn't
mean,
let me be prejudiced. It didn't matter what that. And I said, but you told us don't ever. I said, don't let them call you that. But I did not say you hate any one group of people because of what one person did.
right.
So I was like, so now I'm older and I tell that story, and people are like, I told that story once in a group, and they were like upset because I told the story. But my whole point was to talk about inclusivity.
Right.
Like we have everybody in this community. We have Latino, Negra, we have everybody. Italian,
That's the
Mexico.
melting pot.
everybody. So, like, whenever I do events, I try to be inclusive. That's like one of the things that I'll go out of my way. I'll go to the Latino community and say, I want to make sure that you're here. And they're like, no habla inglés. And I'm like, mira, yo hablo me hablo un poquito español. When I tell them that, they're like, oh, we can't talk because she knows what we're
Right.
saying. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
and the whole point is just to be inclusive. So, Nina's bag is something that was in the works for a couple of years. I wanted to do a podcast because I actually work with youth. And
Okay.
I wanted to see how can I get their attention? And I noticed that my son and all these people younger than me are into podcasts. They don't like the news, but they watch podcasts like it's their stories.
Right.
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 We
I said,
understand
that's
that.
it. I said, that's it. They had me like I was watching hip hop podcasts and trying to figure out how they did what they did. But I know my son would know episodes of it. And if you let me talk about what happened on the news, he'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah. But if because it was relatably put to him, he would actually pay attention more to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, this is the route right here, podcast. I
Right.
could get anything across to any group of youth if I do it in a format that's relatable to them.
And we
That's what
identify
we
with
do.
right. We
Exactly.
identify with that.
That makes sense, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's crazy. So a couple years ago I did a makeshift podcast. I did a youth summit. That was something I wanted to do for years to him. Like, I went to the guy, Chris, Chris Silva's the bomb, the bomb. Runs Bardavon and UPAC. And I heard you're leaving, Chris, and I really, really want to talk to you because you're like a icon here. I love it.
Okay. Let's hear it for Chris.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Silva. So I went to him being earnest like I am, and I said, Chris, I grew up coming to this theater. I lived downtown on Home Street, but my mother used to take all bunch of kids in the neighborhood, and we would walk up to UPAC and we watch karate movies. You could not tell us after those Bruce Lee movies was over that we couldn't do karate. You couldn't tell us that. Like we would look like normal kids coming up Broadway, but going down, everybody in the whole group was
Yo, I
doing karate.
remember
It's
those
crazy,
days.
right?
Right.
Crazy. Wait, let
Wow.
me give you another headbanger. Homie the Clown. Do you remember this clown?
Yes.
Yes.
If you go in UPAC Theater, Chris Silva, when they had the renovations done in UPAC, there's a gigantic, like I'm talking about ceiling length thing of Homie the Clown on the
Wow.
it's back on the stage. It's so big that you're like, wow, like the way he appeared to us when we was little.
Mm.
Right.
It's a giant one of him. I'm like, I remember that clown in this theater. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
So it was so when I had meetings with him, he took me back and did a little tour. I was like, oh, it's beautiful in here. When I saw that clown, I was like, this is back to my childhood. It's
Yes.
crazy. So I said, I live in this neighborhood. Kids live in this neighborhood. People of all nationalities live in this neighborhood, but we're not bringing events that everybody can relate to at this theater. I grew up going here and da da da. He was like, well, what do you want to do? And that openness that he gave to me was priceless. I did a youth summit that was so, with the help of some amazing people in the community, it was so powerful. I had other youth bureaus from all over the state that I actually invited to, and one of them actually made it here. He came with a busload of kids
Wow.
from, oh gosh, I don't want to say the wrong place, not Yonkers, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
But he was like, this is so amazing. And I invited this group of guys up here, one of which is one of my first podcast guests, Rock Jefferson. He's actually a coach in the Bronx that I invited to this event to perform. He's somebody that was in music, but somebody that went away, did 10 years in prison, started out being bounced around in the system because his mother had an abusive boyfriend. And
Wow.
the boyfriend caused him and his sisters and brothers to be taken into the system. She was a great mom, but she was the person she was with was the
Right.
damage. And he came up here and performed, but when he came up, he came with a group called Exodus. I don't know if you guys know Exodus. He was working with Exodus. It's a group that works with people that had just came home. It's a
I've heard of them.
Poughkeepsie has one, the city has one, but we don't have one here. So I thought it was meaningful for somebody that had lived a life that some of these kids have family members that have. Hopefully, we could change their path by showing them the positive route that he was taking. But he was my first guest on the topic called recidivism, which is to change the course, change the trajectory. Instead of somebody going to jail, coming home, not having any programs or anything positive to put them back on the right track or put them on the right track, and they go back in and it becomes a cycle.
Right.
And that's one of the things that's one of the directions I want to go in with Nina's Bag. So that was my first podcast episode. Um, it's out there on YouTube under Nina's Bag Podcast. And unbeknownst to me at the time, there was when I came up with the idea, I was like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna what am I gonna name this? And I said, Nina's Bag. let's see what's in Nina's bag. Because I got all kinds of things in Nina's bag. So that's how I came up with the name Nina's bag. And Rock was good enough to come on and he talked to me about his life. We talk like us, like we're doing right here, about how he got on that path because he's so intelligent. I'm like, I want young people to see that there's an out. Like you can
Right.
choose a different path. It's hard. It's not that it's easy because it is hard. But he actually showed the magic. And when you visibly see a guy that is, he sounds like them, you know what I mean? He coaches, he has programs, he has a juice line, all kinds of different things he's trying to get into. And he's had struggles, still having struggles. I'm still having struggles.
Right.
But this is in certain people. You know what I mean? Like people see me, they see my little card, think it's eye candy, but I still have struggles. And I'm very relatable to communities that don't even have any idea. I'm bougie. I'm
Right.
honest about it.
Right.
But not in a bad way, hopefully. So, but anyways, for UPAC, we did that event and it was amazing. It was packed and I did it different. Like people go to shows there and they see the show and the show is like somebody performing, you're in the audience and everybody's sitting there stiff. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. First of all, I wanted it to be free, totally free. And Chris Silva helped me make that happen. Him and the people that helped me, Sue Valenciano helped me. There was so many people. Raven helped me. Oh gosh, a girl from New Paltz. There were so many people that actually participated in the on the positive outcomes of that event.
Wow.
And it takes that. It really, really takes that. But the best part of it was I got a Latin DJ. So I'm like, we're not gonna have boring music. We're not gonna have a bunch of people standing up here talking because they're not gonna relate to it.
Right.
And it was for kids, their families, everybody. And I started off by saying, listen, this is how I started off. I do a lot of events like this. It's silly, but it works. I know I can. And I made them say it back to me. They said, I know I can. And I said, be what I want to be. And they said, be what I want to be. And I said, if I work, we got to do it. We got to show 'em. Can
Okay.
y'all
Uh,
do it?
All right.
Can
All
y'all
right.
do it?
All right.
I know I can
I know I
I
can
can
be what I want to be.
be what I want to be.
If I work hard at it,
If
if
I
I
work
work
hard
hard
at
at
it,
it.
I'll be what I want to be.
I'll be what I
And
want
I
to
had
be.
them doing it and doing it and doing it. They was like, yeah.
Oh.
I said, that's the tone I want to be in here today. Nobody's going to stand on the stage and talk to you. I want you all to party. We got a DJ in the back. I say, hey, the DJ. I said, y'all could do that. Get sturdy in the aisles. Them kids went nuts. They went nuts. It was so much fun. And after they danced, I introduced a couple people, brought it back, said a couple things, introduced some dignitaries, but I kept bringing it back to performances and fun stuff. You know what I mean? They were so elated that we did something that they could relate to. I had a dance group from New Paltz College. I had steppers from New Paltz College, Latino step group from New Paltz College. I had a group from Poughkeepsie that was whoa. They were from the
Wow.
partnership. Shout out to the partnership. If y'all don't have those little girls dancing, get them back. It was bad.
Partnership.
It was bad. They danced down the aisle. They were so blown away when they saw how big UPAC was because they have the Bardavon, but it's a little smaller.
Right.
So they decided they wanted to come the Saturday before to see what it looked like. I said, no problem. They saw it, they was like, oh, we could dance down the aisle. And they did that. They was doing all this stuff coming down the aisle. I was like, okay. They had everybody going crazy because they was like, do, little girls.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Amazing.
was a nice event. And right up to adults. And Rock was one of the last people that performed, but it was really, really cool. In the middle of it, I did a podcast. And that was how I started doing Nina's Bag. The topic at the time was mental health. And I was like, I want to do a topic that's a very serious topic, but I want to make it relatable. So I brought students up, these two students from Rondell Valley High School, which was amazing. They were so good. One had mental health issues. She was gay, mental health issues, and she also was an advocate for people with disabilities. So
Wow.
she was like a triple threat.
Triple threat.
She was
Right.
amazing. Then I had another girl that was she was advocating at their school to have more things that were culturally diverse. And she had a movie shown at Rondell School and she advocated for 2 years to pull us off.
Wow.
They kept saying, no, we don't know. Like, We don't know if people are going to be offended. Finally, she got to have it. You know the movie with Taraji P Henson where they're scientists or they know.
Oh, when they were computers.
Yeah, what was the
Yes.
name of that?
Hidden
Hidden
Figures.
Figures.
They showed that at her school, and I made them do that. I know I can. The whole thing. They was like, okay. I had them all pumped up.
Right.
They showed the movie, and I had never seen the movie. But this little girl was so powerful. She was in like 10th grade then. She had it pulled off at a school that wasn't crazy about it, but they did it. And it actually opened up things and it showed that, you have to be culturally diverse. So these are kind of things I love to do. I had her on stage. I had Naima, shout out to Naima
Naima.
Muhammad, intelligent, beautiful black
Yes.
woman. She actually was a therapist that was actually on stage with us. We had Ashley Knox, and these people I just kind of threw on the stage. Ashley does a million things in the neighborhood and in the community, and she's doing her thing. I said, "You want to be on the podcast?" She said, "What podcast?" I said, "Right here." Chris Silva allowed us to pull out a couch on the stage with chairs
Wow.
just to make it like we're sitting in the living room, and we did a podcast. It was really, really cool. And I had the kids were our call-in. The audience was a call, and I said, you guys can ask questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We have somebody in the audience with a mic. And I said, and I told them how I wanted to get rid of the stigmas of mental health.
Awesome.
That's what we're working on too. That's what
Wow.
our
That's my next thing
we
too. So
we we trying to,
get rid of the stigmas.
yes,
Yeah,
and
that's
discuss, like, we're tired of the SROs in the school. We need grandmas, not cops.
some of the SROs are so cool though. So
Yeah, but
Yeah,
some are
can you
cool.
get to like a medium or something?
it's cool, but see, this is we all have opinions, right?
Hmm.
So SROs are cool. Granted, but if it's a real mental health crisis, you're not really
Equipped.
100% trained and equipped for that. So, me personally, and I always say personally, I feel like if we have mental health workers in place, if we have KSAT workers, if these people are already in place in school, say, okay, like I'm gonna give a, and I'm saying that because today is his death anniversary. I love you, DJ. When DJ was murdered, a lot of kids were affected by that.
Mm.
So if they would have had people in school in place to talk to them kids that it was affecting, okay, this is what we have today. Gonna have everybody come into the auditorium and we're gonna talk
So
about what
important.
happened and
So
how's it
important.
affecting you. What can we do to help you get past this? Instead of the child having no way or nowhere to go to talk about it, they have a bad day, they're acting out, they don't want to do their homework, just leave me alone. And instead of trying to figure out why they're saying leave me alone, you're calling somebody to tackle them and put them on the ground and bring them down the hall. So,
I
you
understand your
know,
point. Can I?
so right. I
I'm
mean, of course.
I'm
Of
gonna take
course.
that to another place, like just suggestively. So, like, what about a mix? Like, one of the things I've been doing is going to seminars all my life. So Albany does a mental health summit. There's one coming up. It would be so cool if y'all could go and visit these summits and talk about what you do and be included in their it's a learning experience because it's people from all over the state.
Okay.
So the last one I went to, which was probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, they had a kid there that was this cute little young boy. Like, he's probably like, he looked like he was like 19, 20. He walked by and he said hello. I thought he was trying to talk to me. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, this kid is the first one on stage. And I'm like, oh, normally they have only professional people, only people that have degrees in blah, blah, blah. He was somebody that was an advocate. What about having a more inclusive thing in systems, schools, programs that include advocacy more? Because that's what I am. I don't have a degree in mental health. I don't have a psychology degree. I don't have a degree in whatever domestic violence, which is one of my key things. But I advocate all the time, anytime. If somebody says, hey, can you go to court with me? I'm there.
Right.
I know how to handle myself. I know how the judges are. I know the judges respect when you're respectable, and that's what I do. Just having another person stand next to you while you're going through something like that is good. So if you're talking like in respect to you guys saying grandmothers, wouldn't it be cool for those to be those grandmothers or those community members without degrees that probably understand the problem just as well, if not better.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but to have it inclusive and integrated, maybe there's a learning curve. Maybe there's a way to say, maybe like, so for instance, when there is an incident where it's mental health involved, a lot of police departments are actually changing the way that they actually deal with them. They have training now. They have a mental health advocate go to the scene. That mental health advocate deals with that person before they don't even let their cars come in. I've actually been in trainings where I know that this is new procedure that they're supposed to be doing. So why
That's
not do
awesome
that?
then.
Why not do that? Like, have people that are family members. Like right now, gonna give another shout out. Pine Street. I don't know what the name of it is now. It's a beautiful facility, but they have an advocacy program on there, which is, I just saw it online somewhere and signed up for it, where you can be an advocate to bridge the gaps. And that's what I feel that I am. I want to bridge the gaps. Like, let's say there's a family member that goes to the doctor and they don't want to hear that they have mental health and they need support because of all the stigmas that are attached.
Right.
If we can have somebody like you or somebody like you go into like facilities or programs or schools or whatever, and it takes a lot of understanding on both sides. You know what I mean? The school systems are like, normally we don't let professionals in here. Well,
Right.
professionals don't always understand. I understand where you are coming from. But if you have somebody, a community member that is respected, that knows how to
Conduct themselves and
how to take a resolve something without it being physical, and maybe to be included in the with the
oh
SRO
yeah,
or
because
whatever.
conflict resolution is very
So
important.
important.
Yes.
And I mean, it's amazing because just the way you put it was exactly what I just said.
Right.
So like, imagine us doing that mental health program in Albany, when they showed this young kid that had been in systems. He was in systems all his life. And I think like 11th or 12th grade, he decided, I'm gonna do this different. And he did it so different that realized he could help others, not have to be stuck in systems because of family issues. And
Right.
he kind of is a person that bridges them. Like, instead of you doing this, man, why don't you try this? I know it's a pain. You got to do what they're telling you to do, but do it this way. And that way you're not going to end up in the system, because I did, and I ended up going through this, this, and this. That relatability could save a child or a young person from going through that. And I think, and that's advocacy. And that's where I'm at.
Oh
That's,
yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
yeah,
Exactly like
Exactly.
that.
yeah.
You have the ones that have the license, and then you have the ones that have the heart and the compassion for
And
it.
now mental
And
health is making it understood that that is acceptable. Not only is it acceptable, it's needed. Whether there's a course of action that we need to go through to be certified or considered an advocate for a program like a doctor's office that can't get a patient to understand what they're saying, it does not mean that you are a bad person. I'm trying to be
right,
gentle with words because I know how sensitive the topic is, especially
right,
with
right,
people of color. Oh my gosh. When I was little, my mother would say, "Don't say that in front of nobody. Don't." We hid everything. I mean, if there was someone in every family, I don't care who you are, you have somebody that needs support. I need support. This is
right,
how I get people. I had a program where I had mothers. Part of the program was I wanted each kid to have a consult for mental health. And some of the mothers, and tell me what kind of mother this was. And I'm trying to
just
make
put it
light of
out.
things.
Yeah.
So the mother was like, "My daughter ain't crazy. She don't need no therapist. She ain't going to see no therapist." I said, "I'm gonna just say the name Anime. This is just.
Okay.
I said, Anime, I tell you what, I need a therapist. I'll tell you what, you go for the consult, you see that therapist, you talk to her, and then you come back and tell me what you think. And if you think that you're comfortable with your daughter at least doing a consult with her, because this is how we broke that barrier down, because there's a barrier." She went to the therapist. She came back. She said, "I love her." I said, "Me too." And I can't get to see her because I'm putting all your kids in to see this
And
therapist.
that's bad too,
You
because
know?
there's the stigmatization of, if you're speaking to somebody about things that's going on in your life, you're weak, you're
Mm-mm.
crazy.
That's
And
strong
it's
to me.
not. That's strong, because me, I'm a firm believer, pressure bust pipes.
Ugh.
So at the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, if I got all this
Yes.
coming in and nowhere to let it out, what's gonna happen eventually?
Spontaneous combustion.
boom.
That's right.
So
That's right.
no, I think that it's a very smart individual, a very strong individual,
Yes.
a very evolved person that can sit back and say, "Look, I need help. I need to talk to somebody," because I do,
And it's
you
catchy.
know. And it's crazy because
It's catchy though. Like for instance, that mother I think wanted to was agreeing to go because I said, I've been trying to get a therapist forever, but I'm so busy with this programming that I'm not taking care of me. And I think that you need to. But we made it inclusive so that parents could also get care while their
right,
kids were in care. It
right.
was an
That's beautiful.
expensive program. Shout out to the person that actually funded it because it was amazing. But I think,
Blessings upon them.
yeah, I think it was so important because I had to finally say, okay, you've had like 2 years of therapy now. The parent, not the
Yes.
kid, the parent. I was like, there's a ton of other kids that need this. We need to actually kind of bridge you off to a therapist from a program that's here where you can actually use your insurance and da 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 da. Because you have to think those things through because we can have the best ideas, but if there's not a logical way
Right.
and an economically intelligent way to continue the program, then it's going to fail. So that was one of the things that we struggled with a little bit because once you show somebody something that's positive that they never experienced, like mental health therapy, like as long as I can remember, you always were good with that. You were comfortable with. I used to be like, cousin, as smart as I don't know what. Like she talked. I mean, back in the day, you was like, I love my therapist. And I was like, I need a
I do.
therapist. Like,
I love mines too, cousin.
look how comfortable we all are. You can't tell me that somebody's not going to hear this and not going to say, well, maybe I need to look into getting a therapist. Help
Yeah.
yourself.
Help
Or
yourself.
either end up being spontaneous combustion. That's what I say I am. Like, I'm getting ready to be spontaneous combustion.
And like I said, people who know me know that, like, it was hard for me to keep my hands in my pocket. And it's easy now. I don't have a problem with keeping my hands in my pocket.
Gross.
I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go talk to my therapist about this right here.
How
So,
cool is that,
you
though?
know, so,
Right?
and the best part about it, it's no condemnation, it's no judgment,
Right. How
you
could it
know.
be?
So, they like, I said to my therapist one day, I said, look, I know that when we tell you stress you out, so you got a therapist. So I don't want to talk to you no more. I want your therapist. So, and he started laughing at me. Like, because I know your therapist really got to be strong because he gets all of us on
Right.
top of you. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
like, yeah. But
So, what can Straight from the Streets, or how can Straight from the Streets help you with Nina's bag?
Well, I just did a recent event called oh gosh, what was the name of it? Well,
Domestic violence and
domestic violence. I always do these catchy phrases. I wanted it to say a house is not a home if domestic violence lives there
right. Oh, that's
because
deep.
I was trying to do a little Luther in there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
house ain't a home if there's
Yeah.
domestic violence in
And
it.
we had a
Yeah.
great therapist. I just want to give a shout out to her because she was amazing. She came up from the city. She actually goes. This therapist is trying to get a practice up here for anybody that's listening to me. This is her. I'm gonna show it to you. Her name is. I want to get it right because she has Takesha McLeod Ballard. She has so many credentials. It's bizarre.
Wow.
Had her and her assistant, who she's black. Her assistant is Latino, and it's just amazing what she did for that event. I put this thing together so that I could show that there is support on all
Okay, go
levels,
ahead. So good.
professional, um, advocacy, because advocacy there it's a known fact that there's not enough counselors and nurse practitioners and professionals to fill the void or the need for mental health support.
Right.
So I wanted people on every level. So I had her, I had Alicia McDonald, who is a mind blower. She's amazing. She was supposed to come on here with me. You guys will hear more from her. Her and I do a lot of stuff. She
Okay.
told her story about domestic violence, and it was,
Yeah, I was looking at her
woo,
picture.
if
I
you're
was
not
looking.
crying, I mean, by the end of her story, you're like, and like I did a domestic violence event with her last year at the Boys and Girls Club because, and then I want to show you her another person that was on. This is the assistant to the other one to Keisha McLeod.
Doctor.
Yep, this is her assistant. she was best friends with Alicia when they were younger, when she lived in New Paltz.
Wow.
So it's crazy
You
how
brought it back full circle.
exactly, and it was so cool because the majority of the event was sort of Alicia could tell her story. The first time I did the domestic violence event, it was um this is the second year that I did it. I went to a great event in New Paltz College on domestic violence. It was a great, amazing. Cassandra, the assistant DA at the time, was actually very involved in that event. She had helped save a girl that was going through domestic violence, but it was at a lecture center in New Paltz. And I was already planning my event at the Boys and Girls Club because people in areas of disparities can't get to a place like that. They can't
Right.
get to New Paltz College or even Ulster College. It's very
Right.
hard, which I'm glad they have the campus, the second campus here. But that event I had, and it ended up being that um the first event was four women got to tell their story. And I had four women and a man because I didn't want it to be stigmatized as domestic violence only happens to women.
Exactly.
Because I met two young men from New Paltz College that I took to Albany, and we did a seminar for youth up there. They were abused when they were little, and that's a form of domestic violence. And one of them, I've been trying to get in touch with him. If you hear this story, please reach out to me, 845-616-8592. You know who you are. I lost his number with my work phone when I left the county. But he talked about how he struggles with the fact that he's heterosexual and his family member, I want to say his uncle or somebody, was sexually abusing him for years.
Wow.
For years. And he couldn't understand it. He struggled because he was like, I'm not gay. Why is he doing this to me? And he had trouble with it. And when he got to New Paltz College, he met another guy that had a similar story, and they ended up starting to a support group on mental health. And I was like,
Awesome.
y'all are so
God bless
amazing.
them young
God
men.
bless.
Yes.
Yes.
I brought them in, and I took them to Albany and got them paid. And that's one of my things that I'm striving for. Get people that are speakers to get paid, because that's what the direction I'm going in. And I'm not going to do for me and not do for other people that I'm actually doing, hoping to help as well. So I'm doing a lot of public speaking now. I'm going to do a little bit of consulting because I'm actually taking a different path, because I want to really focus on Nina's bag, because I can cover topics, all different topics, recidivism, domestic violence, young entrepreneurs. That's an event where I'm going to have little girls from 7 to 11 come on and talk about either their business that they have or that they're working on that they want to have.
Okay.
And these four little girls, one wants to be a skincare. She has, like, when her mother takes her out to get stuff, like kids get treats with their mother spends a day out, she wants to go and get skincare stuff. She's serious about this.
Oh
Serious.
wow.
Yeah. Another little girl wants to, she does nails. She loves to do nails. 7 to 11. Check that out. I let her do my nails. She puts stickers on every nail. She wants to have her own salon. So you see that another little girl loves to dance. She knows how to do that new dance, which if I don't learn this dance, it's killing me. I have to learn this dance. It's an African dance, you know what I mean?
I don't
You
know.
oh, it's so funky. I gotta learn this dance. It's so this little girl can do it. It's something with their shoulders, but they jazz it up. It's crazy. She wants to have her own dance studio. So
Awesome.
you see where they're taking it. And the fourth little girl, we had to swap out a kid because I have to get authorization from their parents, and things are always moving with kids and their parents. So one's on vacation, one isn't. But I'm going to be doing that coming up very, very shortly. One of the good people in this community is actually going to allow me to do the taping at his place, which is very close and walkable for these parents. So I want to do positive shows. I want to do serious shows, a little bit of everything. But the domestic violence, when I got men to speak about it, it was like a turning point for me. Like, again, I don't want the stigmas. We don't want
Right.
the stigmas. We want people to know that there's all different aspects of it, you know.
Right.
So I found a guy that said that he, was his girlfriend used to hit him all the time, and yeah, it was crazy. But Thank you guys.
I just have one question. How would anybody get in touch with you to find out what's going on and what's coming out of Nina's bag?
So Nina's Bag right now is on YouTube. I believe there's 2 episodes out there. I have 4 that need to be edited. And that's my problem because I'm like a one-man team, but I got 4 really cool episodes that are kind of in the wings. But you have to go under Nina's in YouTube, Nina's Bag podcast. Because it just so happens that Coach has a bag called Nina's Bag.
Oh wow.
Who knew? Coach, if you're listening to me, I'm happy to advertise for you on my podcast.
So
So yeah,
go and check out Nina's Bag on YouTube. It's the podcast. And
Check
don't
out straight from the
forget
streets.
to check out
yes,
Straight from the Streets with Yolanda and
yes.
Katrina. Like and subscribe. Get out and
Like,
vote because your vote matters. Again, get out and vote. It don't matter how you vote, just vote. And also, Londa,
My name's Yolanda,
my name is Katrina.
and we're coming straight
Straight
from
from
the
the
street.
streets.
I love you guys.